Okay, go.
Just want to start today with a trigger warning disclaimer. This podcast contains descriptions of death and drowning. Hi, I'm Katie Carpenter.
I'm Terry Kovanitz.
We apologize for any and all mistakes today as we begin this episode of Titanic Transcripts.
Now, Mr. Sammis, you say the injunction you put upon this operator, say nothing until you see me, have arranged for your exclusive story for dollars in four figures, did not operate to deprive the public of any information?
I say absolutely not.
And yet, in the next breath, you say that he obeyed your injunction.
Exactly.
Then I am to infer that there was no information to impart?
That would be my understanding of it. May I ask?
No. You may answer me, and then I'll allow you to explain as long as you want to. But I want an answer to my question. Am I to infer that there was no information to impart?
I presume that there was.
That was to be imparted exclusively to the New York Times by your arrangements?
After the man had gotten ashore and had discharged his duty.
That would be within an hour from the time the injunction was issued.
May I ask, in all deference, if you could say to me what I am quite at sea on in this matter? What would have been the course for him to pursue? Would you have recommended that at such time he should have been sent broadcast the news of his experiences from the ship, or that he should have waited until he got ashore and was then surrounded by newspaper representatives, or should have called for the newspaper representatives to hear him tell his story? I am quite at sea, honestly, and frankly, to know what course you would have had him pursue.
I shall not reveal my purpose. I am not testifying. You are under oath. I'm going back to the last question. Am I to infer that there was no information to impart?
Yes, of his personal experiences.
Why was the $750 paid to him?
For his personal experiences.
Then he did have information to impart.
I have said that he did.
Who is OPRC?
I have not the slightest idea what the words mean. It may possibly mean operator in charge, but I am not sure.
Did you sign your name, J.M. Sammis?
No, sir.
No, how do you sign it?
Fredrick M.
FM?
No, not FM. I signed it Fredrick M.
In order that there may be no error about the authenticity of this wireless message, I show you the original and ask if that is your name and if that is the way you sign it.
That is not an original.
We so regard it.
I never wrote a message of that kind.
Is that your name and the way you sign it?
F.M. Sammis? Fredrick M. Sammis, usually.
You say you never sent a message of that kind?
Yes, sir.
And you admit sending one of this kind with Mr. Marconi's consent added to it, the one I have been talking about.
Will you read it again, please? Or have it read?
8:30 p.m., Marconi office, Carpathia and Titanic. Arranged for your exclusive story for dollars in four figures. Mr. Marconi agreeing, say nothing until you see me. Where are you now? J.M. Sammis.
I say I never dictated that message. It is simply in response to telephone advice to our man at Seagate, which is located at Quarantine, nearly, carrying out the agreement which had been made for him to tell his story after he got ashore.
With which you were perfectly familiar.
You mean the arrangement?
Yes.
Yes.
And which met your approval?
At the time, yes, sir.
And does yet?
Not in view of all that has been made of it, I think not. I should much prefer to let the men make their own arrangements. I think my good intentions have brought upon me a great deal of trouble.
Who signed Mr. Marconi's name, if you know, to the message of 9:33 p.m. from Seagate to the Carpathia, stating, personal to operator Carpathia, meet Mr. Marconi and Sammis at Strand Hotel, 502 West 14th Street, keep your mouth shut. Signed, Mr. Marconi. Who sent that?
I do not believe any such message was ever sent or signed with Mr. Marconi's name. It may possibly have been signed Marconi Company. The man may have made it that way, but I doubt very much whether he signed Mr. Marconi's name.
Well, who would sign it that way?
The same man I have mentioned.
The man you talked with at Seagate?
Probably. The man has already made a statement that he is willing to stand sponsor for the particular form the message took.
For the language?
Yes.
That is, you are not responsible for the literary character of the production, but you are quite in harmony with its purpose.
I never heard it that way myself.
You are quite in harmony with its purpose?
I was in harmony with its purpose at the time, yes, sir.
I dislike very much to be so persistent about this, and I would not be so persistent except for the determination to break up that practice which is vicious, and which your company should frown upon, and which I am very glad to see Mr. Marconi does frown upon.
I quite agree with him, and I have simply stated we shall have to be careful how it is done.
In order not to offend the operators who have grown up with the custom?
No, not at all. If you have taken an entirely new man and put him on, and if you enjoin him against doing a thing for one reason, and he knows he will not get any pay for doing it for another reason, I should say the chances are he would not do it.
And if his wages were insufficient?
No, I do not think that would enter into it greatly.
The wage does not enter into the matter at all?
It would not seem to me it would in such a case.
I mean, if you tell a man he must not write his story to a magazine, for instance, that it is against the rules of the company, he would not be apt to send that news off by wireless or publish it at all, would he?
No, sir.
The wages do not enter into it?
I should not think it would in that case, sir.
All you have said voluntarily about your solicitude for the operators and laborers of your company does not have very much application in this case.
That was my sole reason for doing it in this case, that and only that.
Where is the Strand Hotel with reference to the docks of the Cunard Company?
Across the way.
You remained at the Strand Hotel nearly 2 hours after the Carpathia landed?
No, I did not. I was in the Strand Hotel 10 minutes or 15 minutes, sir.
When Mr. Cottam, your operator on the Carpathia, got this message, he considered it his business to leave the Carpathia immediately and go to the Strand Hotel.
He did not find me there if he did.
He says he looked for you, but he did not see you. That was because you did not arrive there until about 2 hours after the Carpathia landed.
That is roughly it. My idea of time is very hazy.
And you were accompanied by no one?
I started from the office with no one, but I ran into one of our office boys who was also going up. He was the only one who accompanied me.
When you arrived at the Strand Hotel, you met the Times reporter?
Yes, sir.
And together did you find Cottam?
No, I did not see Cottam that night at all, nor the next day.
Did you find Bride?
Yes, I went on the steamer and saw Bride.
And did the Times man go with you?
Yes.
Through your courtesy?
No, I went on through his courtesy, because I never could have gotten on the ship if it had not been for him. They were letting no news people on the ship at the time, if they knew it.
They were not letting any newspapermen on the ship at that time, were they?
No, not if they knew it. I'm afraid my guide let them think he was not a newspaperman.
And you gave them to understand you were Marconi man, did you not?
Exactly. That did not take me through, though. Mr. Marconi was with me.
And you both got through?
After many trials and tribulations, yes, sir. I think it took over an hour to get on the ship.
After you started?
Yes, sir.
But you did not start until an hour after it arrived.
I should dislike to be quoted as saying the exact time, because I'm very uncertain about it. The passengers, I think, were pretty well all gone before we got on.
Was the fact that the Times man had met you the reason why you did not go aboard the Carpathia earlier?
No, it was absolutely impossible to get on the Carpathia, to get through the police lines. It took me 45 minutes to get across the street. I could not find a policeman who would let me cross.
I do not know that I have cleared up completely, and if I have not, I want to do so, the question of whether the Times made this arrangement through you.
Part of it, yes, sir.
And the amounts that were to be paid were agreed upon with you?
And Mr. Bottomley and Mr. Marconi, I think. I do not know whether Mr. Marconi knew the amount or not, but Mr. Marconi agreed.
He said he did not know, and we are going to accept his word for it.
He did give his permission that the boys should sell their stories.
He said that?
Yes.
That is, he said he made no objection.
No, I felt that he was my superior, and perhaps his judgment was better than mine, and I simply carried out the arrangement which eventuated.
Let us see about that. Mr. Marconi assumes no responsibility for that contract with the Times.
I believe he referred it to Mr. Bottomley. That is my recollection.
And brought no pressure to bear on you to perfect it or carry it through?
Except giving his consent.
You asked him if you could do that, and he said he had no objections.
No, sir, I did not.
Well, that is substantially his testimony.
The Times called me up and wanted to know whether they could have the story, and my recollection is I said if there were no objections on the part of the management, that I thought the boys ought to get something for it. I knew that Mr. Bottomley knew of the arrangement and that Mr. Marconi knew of it, and I assumed, naturally I think, that if they did not know of any reason why it should not be done, I should not stand in its way.
I want to ask you whether, after you reached your office on Monday morning between 8 and 9 o'clock, any message was received, to your knowledge, from the Carpathia saying that the Titanic had sunk and the lives of more than half the persons on board had been lost.
I did not see such a message, and I am quite positive that no such message was received.
Did you hear of such a message?
I, of course, read it in the papers and the reports, but I have no knowledge of any such message.
Have you any idea of a message got from the wireless office of the Marconi Company in reply to it saying, "Kill this message"?
Absolutely not.
Has anybody called your attention to it?
No, they have not. I have not heard such a thing mentioned before.
I do not think it has been mentioned before, but you want to deny it, do you?
Absolutely. So far as concerns anything I have had to do with.
Do you know of any message to any of your coast or sea stations Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday directing that any message previously sent to your office was to be killed?
Absolutely not. I think I can say without fear of contradiction that no such message was sent or considered.
Have you ever used any such term in wireless telegraphy?
Never.
Have you ever tried to smother a message at its source by the use of any other language, cipher, or otherwise?
No, sir.
Do you know how the Chester or the Salem are equipped?
No, sir.
Do you know the system they employ in receiving or sending messages?
I do not.
Were you in conference with Mr. Franklin of the White Star Line on Monday?
No, I'm not sure I know the gentleman.
Oh, there he sits. Just look at him and see if you know him. Do you know him?
I never met him before.
Were you in conference with any other officer of the White Star Line on Monday?
I believe we talked with them over the telephone.
Were you at the White Star office on Monday?
No, sir.
Or on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday?
No, sir.
Was any officer of the White Star Line at your office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday?
I think not. I did not see them if they were.
Do you know, of your own knowledge, of any injunction put upon your operators silencing all communications between stations at sea or on land except Wellfleet, Siasconset, Sagaponack, and Seagate?
It was my understanding that the Secretary of the Navy was to close all the stations north of Norfolk, and we asked the United Wireless Telegraph Company to do likewise.
So after that was done, if it was done, you had an absolute, uninterrupted monopoly.
Not altogether. We should have had.
Wait until I finish. Except for the interference by amateurs through these stations I have named of information from the Carpathia.
These stations are never interfered with by amateurs. I should say that I have never received a complaint from any one of them. They are so located that they are quite free from amateur interference. They are out in the country.
We will eliminate the amateurs. Strike out that reference to the amateurs entirely, and the reply. And now, I'll re-ask the question.
I say we asked the United Wireless Company to do...
So after that was done, if it was done, you had an absolute, uninterrupted monopoly through these stations I have named of information from the Carpathia.
I said, no, that these stations were instructed to handle only urgent business. It is reasonable to suppose there was some urgent business other than the Carpathia's, and I know the other business was handled. But it was at a minimum, and it was my understanding, Governor Griggs was in Washington, that the Navy vessels would handle their business through Sagaponack, South Wellfleet, Seagate, and Siasconset. And apparently there was either a misunderstanding or a mistake, and the Navy vessels communicated with their own stations at Newport, I understand, and at Fire Island. That made considerable confusion and necessitated, of course, that the operator on the Carpathia should keep quiet. He could do nothing while they were retransmitting these names. I think it was a great pity, as we look at it now, that the Carpathia was not either allowed to send this material uninterrupted to its own shore stations, or, better, that the Navy stations should not have used our own stations. By pointing another shore station to it, you just have the time. In other words, you had a retransmittal. The Carpathia had to tell the Chester, and while the Chester was in turn sending it ashore, the Carpathia could do nothing but sit still.
We will now go back to my last question. Do you know of your own knowledge of any injunction put upon your operators silencing all communication between stations at sea or on land except the aforementioned stations? After that was done, if it was done, you had absolute uninterrupted monopoly through these stations I have named. Or, if your advice had been taken and the attempt you made had succeeded, would you have had absolute control of connection with the Carpathia as a result of this arrangement?
No, the conditions would have been very much better. That was our endeavor, to make the conditions the best we could. But, of necessity, we could not deny to the 150 or 200-odd vessels running in and out of New York the absolute right for 4 days to use their wireless at all, and we did not attempt to do so.
You did not make any attempt? I do not understand that as part of this plan.
Yes, we enjoined them all. The ships were all told not to use their wireless until they got out of this zone, any more than absolutely had to. Of course, they absolutely had to under certain conditions.
You said Mr. Cottam has been paid his $750 by the Times?
I understand so. I do not know for a fact.
I think I asked you whether you handed it to him.
And I said no.
You said no?
But I understand that the Times has.
I do not want any impression to prevail that I am driving at the Times in their enterprise. I am driving at the company in what I regard as a very bad practice. Were you cognizant of 2 telegrams sent by Mr. Marconi through the Siaskinet station demanding to know why it was impossible to get news?
I do not know whether I was or not.
Which you spoke of a few moments ago.
I do not know whether I was or not at the time. The messages have been spoken of so much since, it is difficult to tell just when I learned of them. I think probably I was too busy with other things to know very much about them then.
Are you familiar with the message he sent asking the captain to give a reason why no news was allowed to be transmitted?
Yes, I just heard him read it.
And that would indicate that there was not any news coming from the Carpathia, would it not?
Not of a general character. You know the passengers on the ship were not sending news. They were simply saying, all safe, or we are here, or meet us, or something of that kind. They were not telling very much about their experiences.
In wireless telegraphy, what does the expression old man indicate?
It is a term of endearment more than anything else.
And it is well understood among our operators?
Yes, sir. Quite often it is abbreviated OM. It probably was in this case.
Did you or any officer of your company or any operator of your company on any station receive or attempt to get any compensation of any kind or character or reward from any person, corporation, or company whomsoever for any information in your possession or in their possession following the sinking of the Titanic on Sunday evening?
Not that I know of. I have not anything to do with the business end of the concern.
Other than in the manner that you have described?
Technical work, strictly, yes, sir.
Other than in the manner you have described already?
Yes, sir.
Who employs the operators of the British company?
There are 2 British companies. The operating company is the Marconi International Marine Communication Company, and they employ the men on British ships.
Who is the officer of that company in America?
They have not any officer in America, unless perhaps Mr. Marconi is one.
Do you care to say anything more regarding the unpleasant side of this affair that you have referred to, or have you anything else of interest that will assist the committee in its inquiry?
There is one statement I should like to make in connection with the apparent implication about the Navy operators. It is a thing that has been made much of quite innocently on our part. I think the matter stands right here, that Mr. Bride, or anybody who has spoken about this matter, intended no unpleasant implications at the Navy operators, but simply to show that it takes us from 6 to 8 months to train men in our method of working, granting that they know the code perfectly. Work can be handled with the utmost expedition only by the shore station and the ship thoroughly understanding the mode of procedure. And our ship operators and shore station men are experts in that procedure. In the communication that I addressed to Governor Griggs, which he took up with the Secretary of the Navy, I intended to convey the idea by saying that our men could handle more messages than the Navy, not because necessarily they are more rapid operators or better operators, but because they are trained in our service. We handle, I suppose, from 100,000 to 150,000 messages in a year, some of them extremely long, and I have known our men to handle 50 paid messages in an hour. In other words, it was not necessarily because they were better operators, but because they were trained in our method of work, of handling commercial business and handling it quick, with the utmost alacrity, and with the least formal red tape in between messages. As an instance, it is not unusual for a German ship to come along and offer 50 messages for Sagaponic. They will say G and give us 50 messages at a time, and then we will give our okay, and that is all there is to it. G means go ahead, and RD means received.
Are you seeking to leave the impression that the operator Cottam was a more experienced man, a more reliable operator, and could transact a larger amount of business than the operator on the Chester?
I do not know anything about their qualifications, other than that he undoubtedly knew more about our method of work.
Suppose it should turn out that your operator Cottam had only had 9 months' experience as a wireless operator, while the operator on the Chester had 7 years' experience.
I should not think that would alter the case a particle.
It would not?
No, sir, because if we could have the Navy man and give him 9 months' experience, he would be a much better man than Cottam, undoubtedly.
Well, you do not see any good reason for casting any reflection upon the efficiency of the Navy operators?
Absolutely not, and I do not think anyone has ever intended it, except in the way I have mentioned, that they do not know our methods of handling business for which we have certain prescribed rules.
Do you know whether it is the practice of the Navy operators to sell their news exclusively to private parties?
No, I do not know anything about it.
You've never heard of such a thing, did you?
I have seen numerous press dispatches in individual papers from United States war vessels, from the operators.
They were usually all official in their character, were they not? Communications from the Navy Department?
It was not apparent on the message.
But you have never heard of such a practice as we've been talking about prevailing in the Navy?
No, I think 2 occasions would hardly be called a practice.
Do you mean to be understood as saying that the Binns case, where he sold the information, and the case of Mr. Bride and Mr. Cottam were the only ones that ever came to your notice?
Absolutely, the only ones that ever happened, yes.
And I suppose you now hope that they're the only ones that ever will come to your notice, do you not?
Quite so.
Although we have been quite a time reaching that conclusion, I do not know whether any of my associates care to interrogate you or not, but you may remain subject to the call of the committee and be excused for the present. I asked for certain information in New York, which you promised.
That I promised to furnish?
I thought you responded when I asked a question in that connection, but perhaps that is covered by Mr. Marconi's promise.
I think so.
And you will assist in carrying it out?
Yes, sir. I have an urgent appointment in Boston to close a $100,000 contract on Wednesday morning, and I would be very glad to leave if possible this evening.
You would have to leave the night before.
I wanted to leave on the 4 o'clock train this afternoon.
Come in at 2:30 then, and if any of my associates care to interrogate you, they may do so, and we hope we will not interfere with your contract, and you may be excused for now.
And we're back.
Hello.
Let's revisit Sammis Part 2.
Oh, I thought it was really, really an interesting segment.
Yes.
At first I was like, uh-oh, but there a lot of info. But so much time was wasted on who signed what. Because everybody agreed that that's what should be said. Yeah. So who cares who signed it?
There was so much, I mean, I wrote that too, like, we're still re-asking already answered questions. And, like, we already know Marconi said he was on board. We all kind of feel the same way, that, yeah, they might as well get paid. Their pay stops when the thing starts sinking anyway.
And even if Sammis had said, well, yeah, that was me, what does that change? Nothing.
Yeah.
It's
out there.
His misdirection is just...
Yeah, and also even if, like, it would have nothing to do with the sinking, you know, like that we're trying to find out who's at fault or what's the root cause.
Right.
Yeah, these telegraphs are
That's right.
Nothing.
Good point. Very good point. And I thought it was really interesting that the police were guarding the Carpathia. I never even considered.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I guess the
afterwards.
frenzy would be crazy because if the press already knew in the middle of the night, then yeah, I can't even imagine. But it is kind of, I'm shocked that Sammis sneaked
I know.
a Times guy on the boat.
And the
It's a bit
Times
shady.
guy was like, I'm not a newspaper man.
Yeah, me?
Let's go anyway. Let's come over here. And Marconi was with them, and they still had to
Typewriter, never heard of her.
sneak on. That's so funny. I just completely forgot about the Carpathia after the people got off.
Yeah,
Like,
it must be so crazy.
We're down here.
But yeah, that was a little wild to me.
And it's first we've heard of it, so that was really interesting. So I like that part.
I will say overall, I think I believe Sammis. I don't think anybody really had any ill intent or was trying to get something. You know, they're trying to get their boys some money, which is good, but it wasn't like they were getting the money. Right. But I also do think if there really was like a kill this message and stuff, that they're not going to be like, yeah, that was me.
I wrote that down too. No one will claim responsibility for that.
But I do believe him in this instance. I think too much is being made. And then, like you said, you know, it could have been the operator could be putting Marconi for Marconi Company. And if it isn't one of their operators and they do have a certain text or code that they follow, then, yeah, it could have been, you know, people throwing in wrong words, or if, you know, you assume something means this, you know. Mm-hmm.
And then I like the part with the monopoly of information that he's like, well, it wasn't me. Yeah, but, yeah, we should have had it and we didn't.
Yeah, we tried,
but it wasn't me.
It wasn't me, but we did try. Yeah, which I agree. I mean, it's such a tragedy, and people are, you know, dying for information, but also, like he said, other boats are going, other people's lives are at risk now too. You know, things need to get through. So,
which was absolutely the right way to do it.
Yeah.
The information will come, and again, there was so much misinformation at the beginning.
Yeah, and everyone's really mad that they didn't get their telegraph answered immediately, but we do have to remember that all the survivors are sending their personal telegraphs. You've got one machine, and everyone wants to tell their family that they're okay, and like you say, you know, meet us here to pick us up, and you know, there's a lot of other information that needs to get out. So just because, you know, there might have been an inquiry from the president and it was 50th in the pile, well, we're not going to get to it till we get those 49 out before it.
Which I agree. And I love that they weren't being stingy with the time on the telegram. Just boom, 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 last person, so that they're not hogging it. Really, really nice. Really nice. After all that stuff going on. And then just, pardon me. So that was really cute. And the whole, did you or any officer of your company or any operator of your company on any station receive or attempt to get any compensation? How would he know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably.
That's such a big,
but yeah, how would I know?
Area of people.
Yeah.
That and then the Navy part.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. And it makes a lot of sense, the whole telegram to this ship, and then wait while they telegram it to that one.
Yeah.
And
because you don't want to jam up the line, so yeah.
Right. Well, you can't. And I loved Sammis's response on why he thought his people should be dealing with it instead of the Navy.
Yeah.
It was so well put.
And it went right over Senator Smith's head. Because then he literally says right after, oh, so you're saying they're better? After he just went on a whole thing that they're not better. They just know our language.
I'm more versed in this particular...
Yeah. So you're saying that he was better.
Exactly.
And then, did he really need to ask what old man means?
Right. It's been told
We've
again
been through,
and again.
Yeah.
But I did like that sometimes they just say OM.
Yeah.
So it was worth it, the redundancy of the question, just to get the OM bit. I enjoyed that the most, so...
But yeah, so we're back. Senator Smith hasn't changed.
And that's all I have. See you next time.
Bye. Just just a note from the readers. We want to thank you guys for listening, and we really value your feedback, so please let us know what you're thinking, either in the comments or at titanictranscripts@gmail.com.